Hello. Alright, hello everyone and welcome. It's that time of year again. It's time for the SRL season finale. This season is season 4 and it has been an absolutely fantastic season to commentate on. There's been so many ups and downs for so many different drivers. At some point in the championship, Dry XL was even leading the championship until he dropped all the way down. Game Freaks has been up there. Piqui, who started as a reserve this season, is in the lead of the championship and looking pretty good to win it. And there's been so many other drivers. King David, who's he's really made a little thing called after himself. We call it the King David when you start at the back of the grid and go all the way to the podium, because that's just how good he is. So there's been so many drivers in this championship battle, including Chris as well. So it's been an absolutely amazing season, and we're going to have a quick look at the standings just to let you all know where everyone is at in the standings. So right now at the top of the table, after a win at Jeddah last weekend, Piqui is at the top of the standings with 125 points. And right behind him is Game Freaks, who sadly couldn't make it to this race. So it's just going to be there's not going to be much of a championship battle, sadly, unless Piqui somehow retires in this race. That could really mess him up, because if he retires, there are two drivers that could take it: King David and Chris. King David on 107 points and Chris on 102. And if Piqui retires on 125 points, if either of those drivers win the race, they could be taking home the championship. So really anything could happen in this season finale, and we'll have to see how it all plays out. Last weekend, Alfa Romeo secured the Constructors' Championship, so they are your Constructors' Championship. Game Freaks and Dry XL were the two Alfa Romeo drivers. But let's get into qualifying now, and let's have a quick look at who is out on a lap. It looks like King David is one of the first people to get out on a lap, so let's see what kind of lap he can do, and will he be setting the benchmark? Because let's see, I think he's not the first person out on track. I think Sweeros might actually be the first person on track. No, SL Alpha is going to be the first person to set time. But King David, who has a chance at winning the championship if Piqui has a very bad day and King David comes second or better, he could win the championship. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But this is him on his first banker time now. Let's see what he can do. So coming into the penultimate corner here, does he hit that apex quite nicely? Yes, he does, and using the exit curve to his advantage in fourth gear to minimize wheel spin and get the best possible exit. And coming across the line with DRS wide open, what kind of time is he going to set? It's going to be a 107.5, so that is a pretty decent banker time to start off with, and you can see that because he is 1/10 ahead of Sweeros and SL Alpha, who are separated by just 2/1000ths of a second. So those two drivers getting nice and close to each other. But let's see now, Piqui is still in the pit lane, so he's not going out for a lap just yet. But one of the people who's able to take the championship in this race is going out for a lap right now, and he is on the medium compound of tires. So let's see what kind of lap he can put together on these mediums, because if he sets a good enough lap on these mediums, he could start the race on the mediums, and that would really help him out in this race, because it's going to put him on the alternate strategy, which is quite powerful here at Brazil. But you want to make sure that your tire pressures are nice and low, because otherwise the soft compound tires will actually overheat, especially through this section right now. At the end of the second sector, it really likes to overheat there. It can get up to 108 degrees Celsius. So you need to keep your tires in check. But let's see what kind of time Chris can do on these medium compound tires. It looks like it's going to be a 107.9, so just about getting into the 107s there. So he's 4/10 off of King David's soft lap, which is a pretty good lap, to be honest, on those medium compound tires. Just 4/10 off of provisional pole, and that's definitely a good benchmark on those mediums. But I don't think he's going to stick with that lap. I think he's definitely going to go try for another lap, because 107.9 probably isn't going to be the most competitive time here around Brazil, because around Brazil the times are so close. I think usually the gap between first and last is only about a second here, if not less. So let's see now. Piqui on the soft compound tires. He's going to be starting his banker run now, and let's see what he can do. Coming into turn 1, he hits the apex just about, and turn 2 using as much curb as he possibly can, and also using the entry curb into turn 3, which can spin you around if you take too much, but he took just enough. He gets a purple sector 1, so he's clearly doing quite well in this first sector. A bit early on the accelerator there, so he has to lift off and then go back on it. So that's going to compromise his exit coming out of turn 4 into turn 5 and 6, and now 7. He hits that apex quite nicely, using plenty of the curb to get the best entry and exit possible. Coming out of turn 9 and into turn 10, he's hitting all of his apexes now. He's using the exit curbs quite nicely, and it looks like it's a pretty good lap right now, but we'll have to see. So coming onto this main straight now, what can he do with his time? It looks like it's going to be a pretty good time, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's gotten 2 purple sectors, so across the line it's going to be a 107.4, so that is going to be provisional pole position for Piqui, who is 1/10 ahead of King David, who is technically a championship contender in this race. He's just 1/10 behind Piqui, so that's a pretty good banker run from Piqui there. And as you can see, that was obviously a great lap from Piqui, but only a 10th separating himself and P2, so the gaps are really, really small here at Brazil, being such a short track with such a low track time to actually get around the entire circuit. 1 minute and 7 seconds. That is not long for a Formula 1 track. So there you go. Piqui just 1/10 ahead of King David, but King David will see that as a much bigger gap, because when you're trying to improve on the delta, you usually only improve by a couple of hundredths unless your last lap was pretty bad. So it's going to be a spicy battle for pole position here, and we hope to see Chris getting in the mix as well. And let's try and find someone on a lap here. It looks like SL Alpha, who's currently in P5, is now on a lap. Let's see what he can do coming onto this main straight and into turn 4. Let's see. And does he hit the apex? Yes, he does, and quite nice. He gets a bit early on the power there, has to make a correction, and that is going to invalidate his lap time, so he's going to have to back off from there. But looks like Raika has just started his lap time. Chris, his teammate, who hasn't been doing particularly well this season, and I think he's had some decent results, but I think if he did a little better, he could have actually competed. AlphaTauri could have competed with Alfa Romeo for the constructor standings, but right now it's the season finale. Maybe they'll make a comeback next season if these two guys are still teammates. Raika missing the apex there, but getting on this curve and using the next exit curve, so it's actually a pretty nice exit out of there. That's going to recover him some time in the second sector, avoiding the outside curve there, because you can definitely get wheel spin, but you can get a lot of time if you get it right. Raika out of the second sector is 2/10 up on his time, and this could be a pretty decent lap for him. So let's just see, coming across the main pit straight with the DRS wide open, what kind of time is this going to be? It's going to be a 107.7, so he improves by 10.5. That doesn't change his position, but it improves on his time, and that's going to make it harder for everyone else behind him to try and catch up. So Chris, who looks like he only just started his lap and has already invalidated, so he wants to be setting a lap time, because the only lap time he's set is on those medium compound tires, so he really needs to get a lap in at some point in this session. There's not too much longer in this session, only 8 minutes left, so the most you're going to get is 2 laps. So we'll have to see what he can do. So is he taking this as a cool down lap, and is he going to be going for another lap, or is he going to come into the pit lane for a fresh set of tires? It looks like around this final corner, it looks like he's going to be going for another lap, so let's see what he can do on this flying lap. As King David sets the provisional pole time, he's improved by 3/10 with a 107.2. That is a great time from King David, and I guess he's showing why he's in the contention for the Drivers' Championship. So we're riding on board with Chris here, who misses the turn 1 apex. That is going to lose him a little bit of time here as he takes a nice and tight line into turn 3, into turn 4 now. He's a tenth and a half up into turn 4, missing the apex again, so struggling a little bit for grip here. I'm not too sure what's happening. Maybe his tires are a bit cold after the cool down lap before this. And yeah, it looks like he's running really low wings at this track, so that's going to help him in the race with overtaking. But here in qualifying, it's not going to do him any favors. So maybe we won't see Chris too high up the qualifying order, but we might be seeing him make a lot more overtakes in the race, as it definitely looks like he's running lower wings. As he actually sets a purple sector 2, even with low wings. He sets a purple sector 2, which is probably the fastest place on the track with the most corners. So coming out of sector 3, the DRS is wide open. He comes across the line to set a 1:07.2. So even with the compromise of low wings, he's still able to set a very competitive time indeed. And Lem actually goes faster with a 1:07.1. So Lem, one of the reserves in this league, he might be looking at a full-time seat next season, because in the last 3 races he's really shown that he has the pace to be a front runner in this league. And who knows, maybe he'll be competing for the championship next season, because he did well in Australia. He got a bit unlucky in Jeddah, and he's showing his qualifying pace here in the season finale, the season 4 finale of SRL, and he's got the provisional pole time by about half a tenth. So that's a great lap from them, and that's going to do him plenty of favors in this session. So let's ride on board with Sweeross here, another driver who's shown a lot of potential. I think he is on a hot lap, so let's see. He's coming to the end of the second sector, hitting his apexes quite nicely, not opting to use too much of the exit curb, because like I said before, it can give you a bit of wheel spin if you take it a bit weirdly, or if you try and get on the power a bit too early. So Sweeross is finishing out his lap now. He's going to open up the DRS, and he's coming up to the line now. Across the line, what kind of time can this be? It's going to be a 1:07.4. That's a great time from Sweeross, just 3/10 off of the provisional pole time of Lem. So it looks like the top 3 drivers quite close to each other, separated by about half a tenth. And Picky he needs to get a good lap in here if he wants to take home this championship, although all he needs to do is get 7 points in this championship, because if he gets 7 points, which is, let me do my maths here, if he comes P6 in this race, he will have secured the championship in the season finale. So Piqui needs a decent result here. P6, not the easiest position to get, but there are only 14 drivers in this race, so it might be easier than some of the other rounds. So we'll have to see. P6 is what he's going to be aiming for, because if he doesn't get P6 and King David wins the Grand Prix, King David will be taking home the championship. So no matter what happens here, King David has to win the Grand Prix if he wants any chance of securing this championship. So King David is going to be on an absolute charge this weekend. So let's look at who is on the lap now. It looks like a lot of the drivers are in the pit lane at this time. So they're going to be going out at the death of the session to try and set a lap. So the only person who's actually on a lap right now is Jan Albrecht, who is starting his lap right now. So let's see what kind of time he can get as we follow him through this hot lap, as we wait for the rest of the drivers to get out of the pit lane and set their lap at the death of the session. Coming into turn 1, not carrying a lot of speed and actually missing the apex. So in third gear, not really carrying that much speed, braking a bit early, being a bit cautious, just making sure that he actually gets a time on the board and doesn't invalidate his lap time. Coming into here, once again, just not carrying that much speed. So it looks like Jan Albrecht is just taking this a bit cautiously, as he actually breaks into here. I don't know if he's on a hot lap. Maybe he backed out, maybe he made a mistake into turn 1, but I'm not sure. Coming through the sequence of corners, yeah, he's definitely back out of his lap time. as there is a Mercedes behind him of Piqui. No, that's Level Sean behind him. But Piqui is actually starting this lap now, so let's see what kind of lap time he can set, as Lem has started this lap as well. It's the battle for pole here, and Piqui has now started his lap. So let's see. We're gonna follow him. We're gonna follow him on board this entire lap to see how fast he can truly go on one lap of Brazil. So coming into turn 1, does he hit the apex? Does he get his braking point right? Yes, he does to both of those questions, and takes that second corner very, very nicely, using the absolute maximum curve. He's going to get a little bit of slipstream here off of Oscar, and that is going to help his lap time. He is now 7-1, but he's going to need to improve by more than that. He has to improve by about 2.5 tenths if he wants to compete for pole position here. So let's see what he can do. And in the second sector, lots of corners. He actually misses that apex. It's very hard to get your braking point right. He gets a bit of wheel spin coming out of there, and does a bit of a drift. Is he going to back off and maybe go for another lap as he misses his apex once again, gets a bit of wheel spin? I'm not sure, but let's see. And coming out of this final corner, is he going to be going for one more lap? Because this lap, it looked a bit scruffy, but he's still 8/100ths up, but that is not going to change his position in this session. So he needs to go for one more lap, and this is going to be his last chance at pole position. His tires are a bit worn now, they're a bit hot, but he's actually improved by 2 tenths there, so he's moved up to P4, but he's still not close enough for a provisional pole position. So once again, taking the center chicane quite nicely in the slipstream of Mir, getting as much time as possible here, and this is going to be his last chance. He's 5/100ths down, so this qualifying session is definitely not looking to be in Piqui's favor here. But let's see if he can improve in the second sector, because I think that's where he lost most of the time there. Had to lift in that right-hander, those 2 right-handers, and get on the power again, so that's going to lose him a bit of time. Coming into these corners, he actually takes them a lot nicer, using the absolute maximum curve as Chris has fast lap, but we're focusing on Piqui now. He's coming out of the second sector. Let's see how much he's up by. He's not up on his time. He's actually 13/1000ths down, and he pushes the track limits as hard as possible, and he actually ruins his lap there. So that is going to be Piqui's qualifying session over, and he's going to be qualifying P5 so long as no one else improves, but I'm sure there's definitely going to be some improvements up and down the field. King David finishes his lap, and actually might be going for another one. Let's see here. No, he backs out of this lap, so that's King David's session over. He is coming home in P3. And is Lem on a lap? No, he's not. He's a 10.5 down, so Chris is 106.8, which he set while we were riding on board with Piqui. That is going to secure him pole position and give him the best chance in this race. But Piqui needs to be Piqui needs to come 10th or lower for Chris to have a chance at winning this championship. So the chances of Chris are a lot lower than the chances of King David. But yeah, it's going to be very difficult for these guys to actually beat Piqui in this championship. He's just got such a lead compared to them. He's got a 23-point lead on Chris, and he's got a 18-point lead on King David. So yeah, these guys really need to just win the race if they want any chance, and they just have to hope that Piqui doesn't have the best race at all. So right now it just looks like most of the drivers finishing up their qualifying session. So let's have a quick rundown of the grid and see where everyone is. So Chris obviously starting on pole position, and the reserve of Lem is alongside him on the front row. So I definitely think Lem is going to get a full-time seat next season, which is just in a few weeks' time. So the next season is not too far away after this finale. So we'll be right back to the racing action even after the season ends. So Lem and Chris are on the front row of the grid. King David in P3. That's going to give him one of the best chances to win this race, but he's going to have to push nice and hard if he wants to win this race. Sweet Ross is going to line up right behind him in P4. Oh, sorry. Sweet Ross is going to be right behind him in P4 with a 107.2. Another person who sets a 107.2 is Sean, who I think outqualifies his teammate for the first time this season. So he is going to be starting alongside the championship leader Piqui. On the third row of the grid, we have Prashri Ridgel and Near, who is quite close in the championship. If I'm not mistaken, he has 97 points. So yeah, I think he's been a really consistent driver all season. He's gotten some pretty high results. He's been getting a lot of P7s, P6s, P8s, like every race, every season, or not every season, every race this season. So he's been getting a lot of consistent points, but the points just haven't been big enough is the only problem with his performance. So he's been doing quite well this season and just outside the championship battle. But who knows, maybe he'll be in that championship battle next season. Behind Mir, we have SL Alpha and Raika in P9 and 10. P11 goes to Oscar, and P12 is Jan Albrecht. The Artifact starts P13 with the Chaos Druid, who sadly retired at the start of the session. He is going to be starting from the very back of the grid, which is only P14 in this race, so only 14 drivers. This could be a pretty easy win for Piqui because all he needs to get is P6. And even if he doesn't get P6, so long as King David doesn't win, Piqui will be taking home this championship. So it looks like everything is in Piqui's odds. And I just noticed there, Chris getting pole position by 0.3 of a second. So that was a mighty lap from him. A 106.8 is an absolutely mega lap. So this is going to be an interesting race. And it looks like Piqui is going to be securing this championship. But it looks like overcast conditions, and could we see rain in this race? Because that would really spice things up in this race. And maybe if Piqui gets too early on the power in one of the corners, he could throw his championship away. But we'll have to see if it's going to rain this race. It might just be overcast conditions, and we could have a fully dry race, but we never know. And I don't know what the weather will be because the game doesn't tell spectators. So this is going to be an exciting one, and the drivers are lining up on the grid and getting ready for their formation laps, which is going to start right now. So here we go. We have Chris on pole position, who's going to be leading the grid, with Lem right behind him in P2. A great qualifying session for Lem, and really showing that he is a fast driver in this league. And behind Lem we have King David. We then have Sweet Ross, Level Sean, who might have disconnected. No, it looks like he's still in the session. He just ghosted through Sweet Ross at the start. So we have Sean, Piqui, Prashri Ridgel, Near, SL Alpha, Raika, Oscar, the Albrecht, the Artifact, and the Chaos Druid finishing out today's grid. So this is going to be a fun one. Last season finale was a bit underwhelming, with only 4 drivers actually showing up to the race, because I think the real DTM had already won the championship by that point, and the Artifact actually secured the championship for Ferrari in that final round. So let's see what's going to happen this time. We have a bit of a fuller grid. We have 14 drivers this time, so hopefully we get a lot more action than last season, and hopefully this will be an absolutely amazing way to finish out the season. So Piqui starting at P6. He's exactly where he needs to be, but he needs to get a good start and not lose any positions on this race start if he wants to guarantee himself the championship. So he's going to be looking for a good start here, and if he doesn't get that good start, it could really compromise his race, because you know, if he's outside that top 6, King David has every chance of winning this championship. But I think what Piqui will be looking for the most is just to bring the car home and not retire from the race, not get involved in any incidents, and so long as he doesn't retire, his chances are still looking very good. So here we go. The drivers are now lining up on the grid. Chris is on the front row of the grid alongside Lem, and we're just waiting for the final few drivers to line up on the grid before we start the SRL Season 4 season finale at Brazil. So here we go. The Chaos Druid finishing out the grid, and we're getting ready to get underway. So here we go now. All the drivers lined up on the grid. We have 4 lights, 5 lights. gone, and we're away. What kind of start is it for Chris? It looks like a pretty decent one into turn one. So it looks like King David gets a mega start. He's going to go around the outside of Lem into turn one. Can't make the move stick, but looks like Sean has actually overtaken Sweetross into the first two turns. So Sean up into P4. That's a good start from him, and really going to help out his race. King David looking for a move down the inside on Lemkiss, but thinks better of it and is just going to stay in his slipstream for now. Piqui hasn't lost or gained any positions off the start, so not the worst start for him, but not the best either. There is a yellow flag in Sector 2. It looks like the Chaos Druid has spun at turn 4, and we're just watching the top guy. So it actually looks like Level Sean makes a big mistake there, and no, it actually looks like it was lag. And it looks like he's really lagging, because once again he goes wide, but the game just puts him back into position. So it could be very difficult for Sweetross to actually make a move. And as you can see there, Sweetross actually makes contact. No, he doesn't. I don't know if Sweetross has lost his wing because of that, but Level Sean's, it looks like his Wi-Fi is really hurting Sweetross's race in the slipstream with Sean, because he's going to be wanting to get past Sean quite quickly, because as you can see here, coming into this turn one, he just disconnects in the middle of the road. Sweetross has to slow down on that straight. He sees Sean go off the track, but then Sean's right back on the track in front of him. So this is a very tricky conditions to be in for Sweetross, because he's probably going to be quite scared to actually try and overtake Sean. But let's see what he can do. So coming into these two right-handers, he gets nice and close, but as you can see, he goes off the track. Is he going to come back, or has Sean actually made a mistake? He's inside of Sweetross now. Sean's lag is absolutely devastating in this race, and it's really hurting Sweetross. Goes off the track and comes right back. They're literally inside of each other at this stage of the race, and it looks like Sweetross are going to back out there as they go side by side into the final turn, and Level Sean is suddenly ahead. What is going on? His Wi-Fi is absolutely dreadful, and it's lost them DRS to King David, and it looks like he's lost the car, but once... Oh, I have no clue how to commentate on this, but it looks like Sweetross is thankfully passed, but it looks like Level Sean is just going to go through Sweetross. Sweetross is really going to need to get the job done here, and it looks like he's got the job done. So the tricky conditions of being behind Sean are no more, unless Sean goes for a move down the inside. He makes a very weird movement. He has to back out of the move, and he's actually lost it on the curb there. Is he going to glitch back into place? No, he's actually made a genuine mistake there, and Piqui is going to overtake him for P5. So it's very difficult to tell what's actually happening on Sean's screen, because on our screen, well, he's all over the place. He's going on the grass and just glitching back into place. So I really have no clue what's going on, but it looks like when he's about to make contact with another driver, the game actually ghosts him. So not heavily affecting anyone's race, thankfully. So Piqui and Sweetross have negotiated that obstacle and are now up into P4 and P5, but King David getting nice and close to Lem, who has the DRS on Chris. Will Lem be looking for a move into his DRS race? He actually breaks nice and early compared to King David. King David sticking a wheel up into there, which is an interesting move. That could have ended really badly. King David needs to finish this race. He needs to finish first, so he can't be making dodgy moves like that. Coming into turn 4 now, he's getting nice and close to the back of Lem, but Lem seems to be struggling to keep up with the pace of Chris ahead of him, even with the power of the DRS. So let's see here. King David is following quite nicely, just 4 tenths behind. Chris has actually almost broken the DRS to Lem. Let's see if Chris can actually have a good third sector, or end of his second sector, and possibly break the DRS from Lem. Could Lem possibly be struggling with tire temps? I think you'd really notice in this corner, because that's where they tend to struggle the most at 107 degrees. But no, it looks like Lem is just about going to get the DRS on Chris. And the great thing is there's 2 DRS straights in a row, so he's able to catch plenty of time to Chris, but then lose it all again in the second sector. And basically Chris is just pulling along Lem in this race, but Chris might be looking to use his ERS on one of these laps to try and pull away. So he's not going to use any of his ERS here. actually looks like he's conserving it quite nicely. He's got 45% in the battery tank, and he is 4/10 ahead, 5/10 out of Lem. So is he going to push nice and hard in the second sector to possibly try and break the DRS to Lem? But it looks like Lem is actually closer than he was the last lap. So it might be a little harder to do it this lap, so he might be waiting and possibly be wanting Lem to overtake him, because usually being second place in these three-man DRS trains is the best position to be in, because you can charge the ERS, you don't have to worry about pushing too much. But then if you want to take the lead of the race, all you have to do is overtake one car. So being second place in these little DRS trains is quite advantageous, and that means Lem is in the best position, but he's under pressure from King David, who wants that second place in the DRS train, as Lem is getting nice and close to the back of Chris. He's just 3/10 behind now coming into this DRS straight. Is he going to be going for a move, or maybe he'll back down a bit? Maybe he wants to save the ERS and play quite a tactical race, as Sean has now disconnected from the session. But it looks like Lem is going to be going down the inside of Chris into turn 4. Can Chris hold it around the outside? The answer is yes, he can. But Lem is going to fight back. He still has the inside line, which is now going to turn to the outside line for these two right-handers. And it looks like Lem is going to back out of that move, as there's not a lot of space, but he makes a late dive to the inside, and he's going to try and hold it around the outside here at turn 8, and that move is not going to work out for him, and he's going to have to stay behind Chris for now. But this is losing him time to King David. He has a bit of wheel spin there. Once again, King David sticking his nose up there, but really that's not going to work out, and could compromise his race heavily by giving him wing damage or possibly spinning him out of the race. So I think King David needs to play a little more cautiously here. King David now using the ERS, the battery power. He's got 50% compared to Lem's 10%. Could King David be looking for a double move here? He's made one move on Lem on the pit straight with the power of the DRS. Coming on to his second DRS straight, what kind of pace does he have with the power of the ERS and the DRS now? Will he be looking for a move on Chris? I think the answer is yes. He's going to move to the inside line, and is he going to make the move stick? As Chris, it looks like he backs on the move going into there. He just falls into line, and is going to stick in the slipstream of King David ahead of him. So yeah, it looks like Chris now has the best position. So King David opting to overtake Chris. Maybe he didn't like the battle between Lem, and didn't want to be second man, because he doesn't want to be under pressure from Lem, who could... P2 and P3 are probably the best positions to be in, and even P1 has its advantages. So in P1 you control the pace, you use the battery, you can try and pull away from the DRS of the drivers behind, which is probably the only good thing about being in P1. In P2 you can save up the battery, you can take the lead whenever you like, but the disadvantage is in P3 you can force P2 to try and make an overtake and on the DRS trace, and you also save the most battery, because you're not under pressure from anyone, and you're not under pressure to make an overtake. So Chris is now looking to maybe go for an overtake. No, he's not. He's saving up that ERS. He's going to get it nice and high, and this has actually helped him out, King David overtaking him, because now he saves up the ERS, and he can, whenever he wants, overtake King David, use the ERS to push nice and hard and possibly break the DRS. So these two are championship contenders who are just hoping that Piqui has a bad race, because if Piqui has a bad race, this battle will be for the championship. So King David and Chris are two championship contenders. Chris playing quite a tactical race, staying in the DRS of King David, saving up the ERS. But if Lem gets a good exit off this last turn, he could put some pressure onto Chris. Coming out of this last turn, doesn't really get any wheel spin, but using fourth gear, which means his acceleration isn't going to be the best. And with power of the DRS here, he's going to gain a lot of time on Chris and King David. And this could force Chris to make a move into turn 4, but we'll have to see. As you can see, Lem is quite far back coming into turn 1 and 2. Coming into turn 3, doesn't have the best exit, has a bit of a dodgy moment there coming off turn 2. As you can see, Chris is under no pressure at all to overtake King David, and I'm not sure if his rear wing just wasn't rendering, but it might have been that he turned off his DRS at the end of the straight there, so you can see he definitely does not want to overtake King David into turn 4. He just wants to maintain his position. And, you know, staying in the DRS train in P2, but it looks like Sean has DNF'd from the race, which has caused the safety car. When I thought Sean had left the race, disconnected, he was lagging all over the place, and I think Sean is really compromising a few people's races here, including King David, Chris, and Lems, because now Piqui gets to catch up to these drivers as Prashi going side by side with Near under the safety car. So Piqui gets to catch up the gap, 2.2 second gap that that Lem, Chris, and King David had made. But that gap isn't going to be anymore, and that's really going to hurt King David and Chris's race. But at the same time, they are on the soft tires. Let's actually look at the tires here, as it looks like the Albrecht, Raika, and the Chaos Shooter are not on the best strategy right now, because being on the medium tires is not going to help you at all, because you can box now and take the mediums to the end, although it could be a little dodgy, because the medium tires aren't really meant to go more than 22 laps, but these drivers are going to be taking them for 26 laps, so they're really going to suffer from the tire deg at the end of the race. But the only person who's opted for hards is Lem, so Lem might drop back a few positions on the safety car restart. He could lose positions to Piqui, Sweetross, SL Alpha, but at the end of the race I think he's going to be a lot stronger, so long as there isn't any safety car that would compromise his race, because going onto these hards is kind of meaning that you're expecting there to be no more safety cars, and with 13 drivers all being bunched up and battling it out for every position in this season finale, a safety car could be quite, what's the word I'm looking for? It could be quite easy for a safety car to come out, or an incident to happen. Quite likely is what I was looking for. It could be quite likely for there to be another safety car, but if there isn't another safety car, Lem will be quite a strong position in the last 8 laps or so, where he will most likely have more pace than his medium running peers. But we'll have to see how that works out, as we're just waiting for a few more drivers to catch up to the safety car, and if the Chaos Shooter catches it on this lap, the safety car will be coming in the next lap. So we now have King David and Chris and Lem in the top 3 as they were before, but now we have Piqui, who's right behind, and I think he's been driving quite a passive race here, unless he's just not the best of Brazil, because in qualifying he came P6, he just wanted to secure a half decent position, so he didn't get the best qualifying, and then off the race start he didn't go for any big moves or defend any positions, and maintain P6. When level Sean started lagging, he just made a nice and easy pick, and at some point in the race he actually overtook Sweetross as well. So he's only really made one move this race, and that's on Sweetross. So he's been playing quite passively. As you can see, he's now burning the fuel to try and make his car as light as possible for the end of the race, and that's actually, everyone's burning the fuel. So let's get off of the onboard cam, because that's quite an annoying noise. But yeah, Piqui playing quite passively, and this could mean that Sweetross, SL Alpha, and Near, they could all have quite easy moves on him, but he needs to maintain P6, because King David is in the lead of this Grand Prix, so Piqui needs to secure P6 in this race, because as it stands, Piqui will win the championship, but if he drops 3 positions, King David will win. So he needs to play passive, he needs to play smart. He also needs to pick his battles. Maybe not battle with Sweetross, maybe not battle with SL Alpha. But he's going to have to battle with Near to maintain P6 in this race. So it's going to be quite a tactical, passive race for him. Just trying to get the car over the finish line on lap 36. And that will secure him his championship. And he really can't get anything less than a finish here, because if he does, King David or Chris will win this championship, as those two have been leading for what is basically the entire race now. Those have been the 2 guys who have been battling it out with Lem in the background. So Piqui needs to make sure he finishes this race, because those 2 drivers are in contention for that championship, and are just hoping that Piqui messes up at some point in this race, that Piqui has some kind of mistake so that they can take the championship home. But Chris actually said himself in the Discord server, he said it was quite unlikely that I'll be getting P1 in this championship, but he thinks he can get P2, so this is still for P2 in the championship. King David and Chris will be battling it out. Good. Five points between each other, so a win will separate them, but if they get anything less than a win, King David will beat Chris in the championship and compete to. Game Freaks has 117 points, so they don't need that many points to overtake them. So the championship leader is running his own race for P1 in the championship, but the top 2 drivers in this race are trying to compete for P2 in the championship, and the Chaos Druid hasn't actually caught up yet. He's boxed again twice now, but the safety car is coming in anyways on lap 12, so the safety car finally deciding to come in. King David will be leading us away on lap 12 for this safety car restart, and let's see what he can do on the restart. He needs a good one here if he wants to try and break DRS from Chris, because he gets 3 laps before DRS is enabled, and that will be his chance to try and break the DRS from Chris. He still hasn't started yet, still heating up the tires, going nice and slowly here. When is he going to accelerate? He has to accelerate soon here as he crosses the line. Looks like he's accelerating now, as Lem had a little look down the inside into that turn, as it looks like Nier making some moves up into P6 now, and Piqui hasn't lost any positions, neither of the top 3, the top 5 altogether, as Lem actually gets a 3-second time penalty. It looks like Piqui may be running a bit aggressive here into turn 4. He goes down the inside, makes contact with Lem, barely leaving the space as his tires actually touched the white line on the outside, so there really wasn't anywhere for Lem to go there. So really being shoved out by Piqui there. But Piqui is now on the podium with his championship contenders. We have a yellow flag in the second sector. I'm not sure what that is, but it does not look like anyone has spun at this stage. So we now have Lem in P4 on those hard tires with the 3-second time penalty. Piqui up onto the podium. So he is on that podium, and that is exactly where he wants to be, I guess. He might want to get a podium in his last race, if not a race win. So let's see if he can manage that in this race. Sweetross is in P5. Nier has actually moved all the way up to P6, and I think that yellow flag was actually for Praxtree Ritual, who's dropped down all the way from P8 to P12, and SL Alpha also losing a few positions as Dion Albrecht comes into the pit lane. And let's look, it doesn't look like any drivers really making any moves without the DRS, as actually the artifact has spun at turn 1, and that's going to lose them a lot of time for the people ahead. But there you go, we have the top 3 drivers that are the main championship contenders, King David, Chris and Piqui on the top 3, and looking for that championship. So there you go, Lem in P4 with the 3-second time penalty and on the hard tires. And no driver's really looking for any moves. It looks like Oscar is actually on the soft compounded tires, and that means he's going to have a lot more pace, especially on people like Lem, who's on the hard. But he really needs to make the most of them there, as you see getting very close to the back of Nier. Is he going to be going down the inside into the last turn? No, he's not. Will he be looking for a move there? He actually gets on the grass there, and that's not a good exit from him. And he's not making the most of the soft compound tires. DRS is going to be enabled on this lap, if I'm not mistaken, possibly the next lap. But the Oscar has actually almost lost DRS to Nier ahead. But yeah, the DRS is now enabled, and this is going to help some people make some moves, especially Sweetross, who's stuck behind Lem on the hard tires. He has the DRS wide open, but Lem just about has DRS on Piqui ahead. But it looks like the top 3 starting to pull away from the rest of the grid, and that is really going to help out Piqui in this championship. So it looks like Lem has almost officially lost the DRS to Piqui, and if he's not within the DRS of Piqui at the end of this lap, he is really going to struggle to keep Sweetross behind, as he actually cuts across the grass there, coming into turn 8. But yeah, into this third sector now, it looks like Lem is just about inside the DRS. He's going to need a good corner here, and he's going to need a good exit on the final corner if he wants the DRS. He's on the teetering edge here, and coming out this final corner, it looks like he's just about going to get that DRS. on Piqui ahead, which is going to allow him to maintain P4. And it looks like Sweet Ross has used a lot of DRS to try and overtake him. And Sweet Ross is actually below 10% now. So Sweet Ross really struggling, but it does not look like Lem has gotten the DRS on Piqui ahead for this next straight. So as well as going to get the 3-second time penalty. It looks like Piqui's actually made a mistake there. And Lem doesn't have the DRS because he wasn't within the detection point. So he was a bit open to an attack there from Sweet Ross, but Sweet Ross was a bit too far back to go for the moves. Piqui now made a mistake and is in P3 in this race, with Lem right behind him on those high tyres. And that's really going to help him in this race at the end of the race, not at this stage of the race. So let's see. Piqui is outside the DRS of the top two, which is going to hurt his race pace, and he might struggle to actually catch up to them. He's getting very close to the DRS now of the two drivers ahead. Let's see what he can do coming into this final turn, as Lem is also almost outside the DRS. And coming across the DRS detection point, he's just outside of it. He's not going to get the DRS once again, or for the first time actually. And it's going to be under a bit of pressure from Lem and Sweet Ross. As you can see, he loses about 3/10 to the top two drivers on that straight. He's not going to get DRS coming onto the second DRS straight either, as he does gain quite a bit of time there coming into the first and second and third turn, but not enough to get the DRS to the driver's ahead. So Piqui still in a good position, but he's not going to be battling for that race win here in Brazil. But looks like Sweet Ross and Nier getting quite close to each other, with Sweet Ross getting nicely close. He still hasn't made the move on Lem, and he's going to have to make it soon, because Lem's tyres are going to start getting better and better compared to Sweet Ross, which means it's going to be a lot harder to make that overtake work. So he's going to have to make this move soon enough. And coming into the second sector, he's quite close, or coming into the third sector even. Quite close. He's 6/10 behind. He's got Nier behind him. He's just 3/10 behind, and he might be looking at a bit of pressure from Nier behind. So let's see, coming onto this main DRS straight, followed by another DRS straight after. So if Nier gets close enough, he could be looking for a move on Sweet Ross. But you can see both of their red lights are flashing, so they're using a lot of their ERS to try and push, but it hasn't been working out for them, as the Chaos Druid has actually spun in the second sector. Therefore, the yellow flag. Nier is just 2/10 behind Sweet Ross. Is he going to be looking for the move? I think he might be, as Sweet Ross defends the inside, so Nier is going to go around the outside into turn 4. Can he make the move stick? No, it looks like he's going to back out of that move, as we didn't think the outside line could work there. Doesn't think he has enough grip to make that move work. But Sweet Ross is losing a bit of time to Lem now, after that little bit of side-by-side action with Sweet Ross and Nier. And really has to stay in the DRS of Lem, who's actually hanging on to the DRS of Piqui. So it's a game of DRS here, and that's all it is really. If you can stay in the DRS, you have a chance of making that move and keeping pace with the driver ahead. So you can really see how powerful the DRS is. As is Piqui going to be outside the DRS once again? I think the answer is yes. He does not have the DRS for this straight, and Lem is just about in the DRS of Piqui, but Piqui has now broken that 1 second gap and could be looking for a move soon enough. And is he going to get the DRS on this next straight? It looks like he might, you know. He's 9/10 within Chris, and it looks like he's going to get the DRS on Chris, so he's finally caught up to the top two drivers. And if you ride on board and look behind him, he does have that DRS open. So Piqui in a good position now, and Lem has actually lost the DRS now that Piqui has the DRS. So Lem not in the best position in this race, and it looks like Chris is just following behind King David and just saving up the ERS. As a matter of fact, has now actually retired from the session into the pit lane, and that's unfortunate to see from him, but here we go. So we have Lem, who's now outside the DRS of Piqui, and we could be seeing a little bit of side-by-side action between himself and Sweet Ross, and possibly Nier getting into the mix. We'll have to see. So coming out this final turn, Lem still has a 3-second time penalty, so he's going to lose 2 positions at this stage in the race to Sweet Ross and Nier, so he's in a net P6. But I think Sweet Ross will still be looking for the move to possibly catch up to DRS of Piqui, Chris and King David, because that would definitely help him out in this race and possibly give him a podium in this race if he can overtake those guys. But coming onto the second DRS straight now. This is the second straight without the power of the DRS for Lem, but Sviros has the power. And does he go down the inside? No, he's not close enough, but he's now 3/10 behind. That was a lot closer than he was one lap ago. And I think he's definitely going to be close enough for a move. But he hasn't been saving up his ERS at all this race. He's just been using it lap after lap after lap. And I don't know if he's going to be able to defend the position from them unless he starts saving up now. But I don't think he's going to start saving up now. I think he's actually going to go for a move on them onto one of the two DRS straights, as Lem gets another 3-second time penalty. That brings him up to a total of 6 seconds. But yeah, it seems Sui is actually a very aggressive driver. He just wants to get past anyone who's ahead of him, and isn't really considering ERS or tire management. So is he going to be looking for the move into turn 1? He's getting quite close to Lem. He has the outside line, and he makes the move stick before the apex as Lem goes very wide there. And I don't know if he broke late or if he actually just let Nier through there. It was Stiano who actually said the fastest out of the Grand Prix with the 109.8. As it actually looks like Chris and King David are going side by side out of turn 4. Chris has the inside line for his next two right-handers, and I think that's really going to help him out. Is King David going to hold it around the outside? He tries to, but he does not have that kind of grip on these 10-lap old medium tires. So Chris has decided this is the lap to take the lead of the race, as King David is down to 25% ERS, so he's been using it quite a lot. But so is Chris. He's only got 30% himself, so I thought he might have been saving to try and go for a push lap to break the DRS, but no. He's decided that he's going to try and overtake King David as soon as possible. And looks like 10 laps later he's gotten the move done. So Chris now in the lead of the race with King David right behind him, just 3/10 behind. Is he going to be looking for a move? It looks like he is. Is he going to take the inside line? Yes, he is. Into turn 1. Looks like he makes the move before the braking point. But Chris is going to have the DRS for this next straight. And is most likely going to overtake King David into here. Are they going to go side by side into turn 4 once again? Looks like Chris not really opting for the slipstream, so maybe he used a lot of DRS to try and actually get past King David, and is deciding to save up once again. But now he's under a bit of pressure from Piqui behind, who's just 3/10 behind Chris, and might even look for a move himself. He's up to about 50%, 60%, 70% ERS, and he could be looking for a push lap himself to possibly overtake both of these guys. He could overtake Chris on the first DRS straight and King David on the very next straight. So this is a big old battle between the top 3 drivers, but as long as Piqui doesn't make any big mistakes, he could be looking good for the championship here. So maybe he won't go for a move, maybe he'll play it passive. No, he won't. He wants the race win in the last race of the season, using the ERS on the edge of the final turn. Doesn't have the straight line speed on Chris, who has the DRS, but he might try and force Chris into the move, because as you can see he's getting very close now, missing the apex with the dirty air of Chris ahead of him. As it actually looks like Nier and Sviros having a nice little battle. Is Chris going to be going for the move into turn 4? No, I think he's just saving up the ERS at this point, and so is Piqui. He's just saved up so much ERS, he's up to about 80%, so he was in a very good position in this race, and I don't think the 4th place down will be actually catching up to this group of drivers, and that would be the only way that Piqui loses this championship. So we have 13 laps left in this race, and really not too much happening. Just 2 DRS trains, 2 main DRS trains at least, as Lem has actually lost DRS to his DRS train, so it's just 2 DRS trains of King David, Chris, Piqui, and also Nier, Sviros, and Lem. But it looks like Sviros is getting quite close to the back of Nier once again, using all of his DRS and not saving any of it. And in the slipstream, now turns on the DRS into turn 1. He's going to be looking for a move down the inside, if I had to say. He has the inside line. Is he going to make the move stick? Into turn 1, he leaves the space on the outside for Nier. They're going to be going side by side into the ascending chicane, and it looks like Nier gets the better of Sviros. Sviros, will he have the DRS on the straight? Yes, he will. So he's going to be looking for the move on Nier into turn 4. He goes down the inside, and can he make the move stick? No, Nier actually holds it around the outside, but the move isn't done yet. Sweetross still on that. It's now going to be the outside line for these two right-handers. Now we've seen before that line does not work, but he actually makes a lot of contact there with Nier, and basically just bashes him out of the way. And Sweetross now takes P4 in this race, and now Nier is under pressure from Lem, who tried to go around the outside there. There's actually a safety car as Oscar has retired from the session. It looks like he had an incident into turn 1 there, which is an interesting place to have an incident. But he's now out of this race and brought out the safety car. So this has really helped out Sweetross, I guess. He can finally save some of his ERS, which he's really been struggling to do all race. And this has also helped out, well, not really helped out Lem, because he has a 6-second time penalty, but it means everyone's going to be coming into the pit lane for a fresh set of soft compound tires. So everyone into the pit lane now, and anyone who stays out is going to get track position, but they're going to get overtaken by these soft compound tire runners, and it looks like everyone has come to the pit lane. So no one really going for a mixed strategy here, because it's quite an obvious strategy to go on the soft tires for the final 10 laps of the race. So there isn't going to be any position changes, as it actually looks like there is. It looks like Nier has possibly broken his wing because of that incident, so then the safety car has come out at the perfect time for him. But yeah, that contact between himself and Sweetross has now given him wing damage and lost him 2 positions on track from them, and SL Alpha, as the Chaos Druid, actually gets disqualified for ignoring the yellow flag, which is interesting to see. But yeah, there you go. So King David P1, Chris right behind him, Pitley in P3, Sweetross in P4 now has a chance at a podium in the season finale. Lem in P5 with 6 seconds of time penalties. He's got SL Alpha behind him in P6. That's a pretty decent position for SL Alpha. Nier in P7, Crashtree in P8, Raika in P9, and Jan Albrecht, who's a lap down, he's in P10. Or he says he's a lap down, but he's right behind P9, so maybe not. But it looks like the safety car, will it be coming in this lap? I don't think so. I think it'll be coming in for the very next lap, now that everyone has actually caught up to the safety car. So now that everyone is behind the safety car will be doing one more lap before it comes into pit lane, and we can just go for 10 more laps of racing once it comes in. But the Chaos Druid just telling me that he was disqualified for overtaking the safety car, even though the leaders were behind him. So that's interesting to see. A bit of a weird glitch on the game's behalf, but this game is very glitchy and sometimes very unfair. So sad to see that Chaos Druid suffered from that glitch. But yeah, next season he'll have to come back. As last race of the season, it's definitely disappointing to end with a DNF or disqualification, especially in a way like that where it's just the game being a bit buggy. But yeah, Sean, the Artifact, and Oscar, I don't think they'll be happy DNFing in the season finale, as I'm sure all these drivers want to end out this season in a strong race. And it looks like Sweetross is going to be one of those people looking for his first podium in this league, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he's gotten a podium. So he's going to be looking for that first podium, and maybe even Nier from 7 places back. Will he be looking for that podium? He's been ultra consistent all season, but hasn't managed to get any big point hauls like a podium. So he'll be definitely trying to compete for a podium in this race. And the safety car is now in this lap, and King David away, and he's going to be looking for a good restart here as he really slows down, tries to bunch up the grid, and he's going to try and catch Chris and the rest of the grid on it by surprise if he can. So King David making sure his tires are nice and warm, warming up those rears so that they aren't ice cold, and he can actually get on the power quite nicely, doesn't get too much wheel spin. Coming into here, Chris getting quite feisty, going side by side with Chris, and he, with King David. It actually looks like that's kind of worked out for him, as he's very close to the back of King David here. He's going to go around the outside on the safety car restart into the ascendant chicane. He has to cut the second corner to actually not make contact there. He's going to be going around the outside into turn 4. King David is going to be defending the inside. So King David around the outside into turn 4. Can he make the move stick? And it looks like yes, he can. So there you go. Chris has taken the lead at the start of this race. It actually looks like Piqui and SL Alpha having a little battle behind. Lem actually retired there on the safety car restart into turn 2, maybe made contact with someone. But SL Alpha has jumped from P6 to P4, so that's a great restart from him. And it looks like there's a little battle going on here. Nier and Sweeross battling it out, going side by side through these turns and going through this right-hander. It actually looks like they've made contact there, and Sweeross has been hit off by Nier. Sweeross was quite aggressive with Nier before the safety car came out, and I guess Nier had to return the favour there. They made contact, and that's lost Sweeross a lot of time as Chris sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. He's got King David right behind him though. There's 3 tenths behind. SL Alpha up into P4. It's really going well for him this race. And he's got Nier right behind him in P5, so Nier just needs to make up 2 positions to actually get a podium in this race. Let's see if he can, as there's blue flags for the lap car of the Brecht, as it actually looks like Raika comes into the pit lane. So let's see what the gaps are like. It looks like King David is the closest car to Chris. Well, obviously he's in P2, but I mean, the 2 closest cars together are Chris and King David. The DRS has not been enabled yet, but I think it will after this lap. So King David might be looking for a move into the 2nd DRS straight, as he needs to win this race. But there's only 9 runners left in this race, so even if King David or Chris wins, it's highly unlikely that Piqui will be finishing outside the top 6 here. So let's go. We have Chris in P1 and King David in P2. Is the DRS enabled on this lap? Well, we see now Chris coming across the line. He sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, a 1:08.6. That's a great lap from him. And I think the DRS was enabled. I wasn't sure there. It didn't show a message for it because Chris's fastest lap came up. But yeah, there you go. King David has the DRS on Chris ahead of him, and he has a little look down the inside, but isn't close enough to actually make that move. SL Alpha has now actually lost the DRS to Piqui ahead of him, so I don't think he's going to be competing for a podium in this race. Whereas Nier, if he can get past SL Alpha and maybe have the pace to catch up to Piqui, he might be looking for a podium in this race. But he's going to have to make the move quite quickly if he wants to catch up to Piqui. The gap is now 1.4 seconds between Piqui and SL Alpha, so he's going to have to make up quite a bit of time in the middle and last sector to catch up to Piqui, but we'll have to see if he can. The gap is now 1.5 seconds, so SL Alpha losing time to the top 3, losing a bit of touch, but looks like Nier with the overtake, and now the DRS coming across the DRS line now. He has the DRS, he has the ERS. SL Alpha has actually used up all his ERS for that lap. He's down to less than 10%, and Nier is going to make a move before the turn. As it actually looks like Chris is overtaking King David into turn 1. I think I might have missed that. King David is going to fight back though, and into turn 4, he's going to make the move stick and makes a move before the braking point actually. So here we go. We have King David in P1 with Chris right behind him, and this is Nier's chance to push. He has a 1.8 second gap to Piqui ahead of him, and he's going to need a mega lap if he wants to catch up. But obviously, with King David and Chris fighting away, it's definitely losing them a bit of time, including Piqui behind. So we'll have to see if Nier can actually catch up to that gap. But he's still under pressure from people like SL Alpha and Prashri Ridgel as well. So coming out of this final corner, we have Chris, who has the DRS. He's 3 tenths behind. So if he looks for a move into turn 1, he'll be a bit compromised because into turn 2, or not into turn 2, coming out of turn 3 on the 2nd DRS straight, King David is just going to get the DRS right back, and it looks like that's exactly what's going to happen as we have a bit of a weird camera angle here. But yeah, Chris has made the move into turn 1 before the braking point. But straight after that, there's another DRS straight where King David just gets the DRS right back in the slipstream, out of the slipstream, and down the inside into turn 4. But the question is, can he make the move stick? Yes, he can, as it looks like Chris actually backs out of it a little bit. So he's 1/10 behind there, really, really close. But King David in P1 with Chris really, really close behind. But I don't think Chris will be looking for a move on the next DRS straight, because that's really going to compromise him. It's just going to be the same thing over and over again, because King David will get DRS on the very next straight. Nier has actually closed down the gap somewhat with King David and Chris going side by side. Near is now 1.4 seconds behind Piqui ahead of him. So he's closing down the gap slowly but surely. We now have Chris in the slipstream with the DRS. He does not use the ERS, so he's not opting to go for the move right now. But as he does a bit of swerving, is he going to go down the inside into turn 1? Yes, he is. And he makes the same move that he did the very last lap. So King David favors exit over entry. And with the power of the DRS, he's just going to make the easy pass on Chris. So Chris not playing this race the best tactically, as it looks like he's under a bit of pressure from Piqui. He goes for a late lunge, which could have completely ended his race. So not the best move there from Piqui, but he's still in this race. But now Nier is just 1 second behind. So if Nier has a good second sector, he could catch up to Piqui here. So that was not smart from Piqui, going for a very late lunge on Chris, and he was entitled to no space there, so that could have ended horribly. But thankfully Piqui is still in this race and looking good for the championship. Nier is just 1/10 behind that DRS. He really needs a mighty last corner here. What kind of exit can he get? So there's actually a yellow flag. It looks like the Onno Brecht has spun, but coming off for this final turn, Nier does not get the DRS. He's right there. He's 18 1,000ths away from getting it. But if he uses his ERS and goes for a big push stop, it's down to lap 33 as Chris and King David go side by side into turn 1. Once again, Chris makes a move into turn 1. King David overtakes him with the DRS on the second straight. Not sure what Chris's strategy is here, but whatever it is, it's not working very well because once again, King David has the DRS and he makes a move into turn 4 quite easily. So yeah, I don't know. I think Chris isn't playing this best. If he could just stay behind for a little bit longer, save up the ERS, because King David is below 10% ERS. I saw his red light flashing, so he doesn't have a lot of ERS. So if Chris was just a little more patient, he could quite easily win this race. But let's see now. He's done it 3 times in a row. Has he learned from his mistake? We'll have to see as we go through the final few corners. Coming into the second last turn, coming out of the second last turn and into the penultimate, I'm really struggling here, guys. Into the final turn, we have Chris right on the back of King David, and Piqui actually looking for a move on Chris. But Chris under pressure from Piqui. Coming into turn 1, he has to make the move on King David there. So there, it's not him wanting to make the move, it's him being forced to make the move by Piqui. So he's been forced to make the move and is now P1, but King David doesn't get the best exit out of turn 2, and as we can see from this very good camera angle, Chris is now up into P1, so we're just 2 laps to go. He's in P1, he's got less than 10% ERS, but so is King David. Piqui is getting very close too, he's just 2/10 behind, so it's going to be a big battle for the podium. But Nier is right behind Piqui, and let's see how much ERS Nier has. It looks like he's got 25%. So he's got a decent amount of ERS. How much has Piqui got? Piqui saved up his ERS, so he's done the smart thing, saved up his ERS. He's now on 70%, so it's going to be difficult for Nier to make the overtake and get a podium in this race. But he's been looking for it all season, and we'll see if he can get it as Frashtree takes the scenic route on the grass as he spins at the penultimate corner there. But there you go, King David and Chris, both of the red lights are flashing. King David doesn't make the move into here. He's learned from Chris's mistake, and will probably look for a move into this DRS straight. Or maybe he'll wait out for one more lap and make a last lap move. But Piqui is going to be looking to get a move on here. He's got all this ERS saved up, but he has to make the move. So King David and Chris are going to go side by side into here, and this is why being the third man in the DRS train is worse than being second, because he just has to watch this happen. He hasn't really had the opportunity to make any moves. That's probably why he went for that late lunge on Chris into turn 4 a few laps ago. But coming into this middle sector of the penultimate lap, he's going to need to get a good exit of the final corner or into the second DRS straight to try and overtake one of these guys and at least get P2 in this race. Or maybe he'll just settle for a podium and play it a bit passively and not make any mistakes and just get the car across the line, but we'll have to see. So coming onto this pit straight for the second last time this race, and we're about to cross the line. So here we go, King David across the line. and Chris is right behind him with the power of the DRS. And it looks like they're going to go side by side into turn 1. And Chris is going to make the move stick into turn 1. He's got that position. He's got P1 in this race. But King David is going to have the DRS right after him, as Near is actually looking for a move on Piqui as well. King David goes down the inside of Chris. Near goes down the inside of Piqui. But King David is going to he's going to take P1 in this race. So he's got P1 in this race. And he's looking pretty good for the race win. Piqui right behind him, and so is Near. There's only one more DRS straight in this race, so there's not much time left to make an overtake, as Near goes for a very late lunge there into turn 7, or turn 8 I should say. And King David starts to pull out a little bit of a gap on Chris here, and coming into the third sector, I think he's got enough of a gap to win this race. But the fact that Piqui is in P3, he is going to win the championship in this SRL Season 4 finale. So here we go. We hit the detection point now, and Chris is going to have to DRS, but I don't think he's got the straight line speed to overtake King David into this final, onto the pit straight. So King David wins the Brazilian Grand Prix and finishes out the Season 4 strong. But Piqui coming home on the podium, he is going to secure the SRL Season 4 championship. So there you go. Piqui is your champion from reserve to champion. It's been a great season from him, and he's really put in a great performance, and he's won that championship. It clearly shows. And Near coming P4 once again. He's had a very strong season. I think he's going to come P5 in the championship, and he's had a lot of consistent results but couldn't get a podium all season. He almost got it there once again, but Piqui was able to hold him off, and Chris missing out on P1 by just 1.5 tenths. SL Alpha finishes in P5. You can see he actually crashes out there on the final turn. Well, not the final turn, on the final straight. And there you go. That is the Brazilian Grand Prix in the Season 4 finale. I hope you did enjoy that one, because that was quite an exciting race. And the championship has been decided. We have Piqui as your driver champion. And taking on the Constructors' Championship is Alfa Romeo. And that is going to be the end of SRL Season 4. But the Season 5 is starting quite soon, 2 weeks if I'm not mistaken, maybe 3. And I'm sure that season is going to be even better than this one, if it can top it. But there you go, guys. I hope you did enjoy that race and this stream. And be sure to come back for Season 5 of SRL. But there you go, there is your final standings. You have King David in P1, Chris in P2, Piqui taking up the last spot on the podium and securing the championship. Near in P4, S Alpha P5, Sweet Ross taking home P6 after his spin and contact with Near. Prastri comes home in P7. He was a championship contender this season, but missed a lot of the races. P8 goes to Rijkaard. Diano Brecht takes P9, and from them downwards, it's all DNFs. So there you go, and I'm going to end off the stream, guys, and